Hey guys, welcome back to the Pulling Curls podcast. Today we are following a couple's journey with infertility through delivery. Let's untangle it. Hi, I'm Hilary, a serial overcomplicator. I'm also a nurse, mom to 3, and the curly head behind Pulling Curls and the Pregnancy Nurse. This podcast aims to help us stop overcomplicating things and remember how much easier it is to keep things simple. Let's smooth out those snarls with pregnancy and parenting untangled, the Pulling Curls podcast. Okay, today's guests, they had 6 years plus of infertility, ended up getting pregnant, preparing for their labor and delivery, and then having a super cute little baby boy. I want to introduce today's guests, Morgan and Jon. This episode is sponsored by the online prenatal class for couples. If you guys are looking to get prepared and you like to know what's going to happen along your journey, the online prenatal class for couples is 100% the class for you. I want you guys to have a great birth just like Morgan and Jon, so come join me, and in just a few hours, we can get you prepared from bump to bassinet. Hey guys, welcome to the Pulling Curls podcast.
Thank you so much.
Hi there. Okay, so we've got Jon and Morgan. What's baby's name?
Lachlan Lee.
Lachlan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Last name. You're right. That's not his last name. Yeah, Lachlan Lee's middle name. Okay. So cute. LL. Do you call him LL?
No, we call him Lockie.
My kids' nicknames never, I don't know. That is something you don't think about before you have the baby. But they all, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't think about nicknames, but now we've got Lockie Poo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of ridiculous.
We're very nicknamey people, for better or worse. I call him Buggles because he's my snuggle buggle.
That's right. Yeah.
Or Smudge. Yeah.
Our first one I called Bug for a long time. I do not call him Bug at 23 though. So things do evolve, just so you guys know.
Yeah, I've started to abbreviate Buggles as Bug in the last couple of days.
Yeah. And it was hard because sometimes I called him that because he bugged me.
Yeah. And Locke has a built-in nickname for that, Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
It's spelled the same way too.
That's funny. Okay, so you guys had some infertility before getting pregnant with this little guy. How long?
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to share about that journey?
Oh, yeah. So we were actively trying for 6 years. And I mean, kind of inactively trying for 6 plus. You know, like we've been in a long-term relationship for about 20 years, and we were just like, hey, you know what? If it happens, it happens. And then we're like, okay, we're going to get serious about this about 6 years ago, and didn't know we had any kind of complications. You know, we've done the calendar, you know, the temping. After that, we went on to medication, metformin from my endocrinologist, who's the one that actually told me I had PCOS.
Yep.
And then, you know, that didn't do anything. It actually raised my testosterone. And after
bodies
that,
are the
we
bodies are amazing.
They are.
It's so intuitive. So intuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get 50 pounds with it. You're like, hooray.
Thank you so much.
Right. And I couldn't get the PCOS that makes you skinny. No, I couldn't get that one. I had to get the PCOS that gives you 50 pounds every year. And then after that, we had some insemination, which was a horror story. Just really bad experience with that. That didn't do anything. And so after that, I said, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to research and see if I can find a holistic approach. And that's what ended up doing it is I ended up going on drinking spearmint tea for about a month straight, 2 cups a day, and it lowered my testosterone enough that we got pregnant after 1 month.
What? Okay, so what type of a doctor did you see that told you this, or did you just find that on the internet?
I am a research guru. Like, I will just go and go and go until I find something. I have tried, you know, saw palmetto, milk thistle, all kinds of vitamins. You know, I've done research in actual, you know, physical books, which you don't see very much anymore, and online, and just combing through. And finally, I saw research done on spearmint tea about lowering your androgens, which has been linked to PCOS and high testosterone. And, you know, it's believed that it lowers it enough where you're able to actually release an egg, and it's not that hidden egg syndrome. Mm-hmm. And, you know, 1 month full. And, you know, I released an egg and I was able to get pregnant.
That was it. Yeah.
Were you not
Well, that's how-
ovulating before?
No,
Naturally?
apparently,
Okay.
yeah,
Super
never
interesting.
ovulated in my entire life.
Well, and there's not really a downside for trying that other than I guess wasting
Mhm.
time if you
Yeah.
want to try something more aggressive.
Yeah, and we were kind of at our end, like I always, you always think hope is a great thing until you are trying so long that it becomes painful, like hope as a painful thing.
It was
And
brutal. Every month, gathering around the pea stick and just
yeah, the
just
pea stick. Yeah,
it was
and
so awful, especially for Morgan. Just
no, and we were actually like we had just moved to North Georgia, and I said we're going to try a new doctor with insemination like one more time, and then if that doesn't happen, we're going to adopt. Like we had started the nursery, we had started looking up adoption in Georgia, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this Spearmint thing too and see what happens. And I turned my insemination appointment into I am like 8 weeks pregnant appointment.
I bet that is a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
yes.
That's amazing. I mean, I just think fertility is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Unless you're
It's either concerningly simple, like way too easy,
Oh my gosh. Right?
or insanely complicated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that is really the truth. And all of parenting is like that because then, of course, you get the people online that are like, I can't believe you said that this baby's driving you crazy when I would give anything for a baby. But I'm like,
Right.
but it still drives you crazy.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's something that I, like I did myself is I would see these people like saying, oh my God, it took me so long. I didn't get pregnant for 2 months. I'm like, 2 months? Like, I would love to have 2 months, or, the individuals that are saying like, oh, I'm done with pregnant. I've only been pregnant for 2 months and I just want this baby out of me already. I'm like, man, I'm loving this. I am absolutely adoring this. I am 3 trimesters in. I am, bigger than I've ever been in my entire life. My feet can't fit in any of my shoes, but I feel the most beautiful I've ever felt. And I absolutely freaking love it. And if that's because of the infertility, and having to try so long, I don't know, but definitely a different experience.
Yeah. I just am like, you just have to appreciate people for where they are and not compare it to whatever you're going through, which is very hard as a human being. But I love that. And I do agree that we had about 3 years of infertility with our last baby, which of course everyone's like, you already have 2 kids and that's not infertility. But I was like, well, I'd really like to either get on with my life. I want to pee or get off the pod at this point.
Pee on the stick.
Yeah. So, but I like my pelvis split. I was 12 days overdue. And I really don't think I don't think I could have done that with like another little person I had to haul on my hip, and I think I was more okay with all of the crap because it was something that I had tried so hard and wanted. That being said, I do see people who are like, I love my infertility baby more. I don't think that that's true. I mean, I like her more because she's nicer because she's a girl.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I think definitely the baby love is probably equal across the board. I hope it is. It's just a matter of, do they like themselves when they've got full body eczema and like the puffy feet and stuff, and it's like, yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe trying so long gives you more of a, I don't know, just a kind of, I'm going to be able to deal with anything you throw at me kind of thing.
Yeah, you're probably just more tolerant because you've been dealing with other things the whole time.
Right.
And you decided it's something you really wanted versus the prom date baby.
Oh gosh.
Where you're like that. Anyway.
Oops.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you prepare for labor?
Oh well, 6+ years definitely gives you some time.
Oh my Lord.
I was actually a Pinterest fanatic. So in those
way
6+
back when,
years,
like she started boards and researching. I mean, yeah, like 7 years ago. She's a very extremely meticulously organized person when it comes to this kind of thing. So
yeah, so I've been combing Pinterest boards for those 6+ years, finding anything I could. And so, I actually, when we finally found out that we were pregnant, I took all of those Pinterest boards and lists and I compiled them into what I call my baby encyclopedia, which is a Google document so that it's searchable. I mean, just everything under the sun. And
especially useful for husbands.
yes, especially useful for husbands. It's searchable.
Who hasn't been looking at those documents for 6 years?
No, not at all.
Yep.
And with that, I was able to say, okay, here's our bags for labor. I've got my bag, I've got dad's bag, I've got baby's bag. We're taking our tours of the hospital. We are talking to all of the doctors that are involved in labor and delivery. We're asking the hospital questions that we have, a list of questions for, very readily prepared. And then I even had like my birth plan ready. I had my will actually ready. I had a list of all of my medications.
I wanted to laminate it, but she wouldn't let me. She thought it'd be silly.
You wanted to laminate? Oh, the birth plan or the will?
Just to be able to hand out to the nurses.
Oh
so yeah,
gosh,
the will.
yes.
Yeah, laminate the will. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Bronze that will.
And I mean, I had a list of everything I needed, and I got it done. And by the time we were ready to go, we're about I want to say a couple months out. And what we needed was a really good prenatal. And that's where you came into play. And we took that class, or the course, I should say. And that was just like the cherry on top that, instilled in me so much more confidence. It answered the questions that I still didn't have answers for. And that way, when we were driving to the hospital, I knew what to expect if we were going the natural childbirth method or if we were going C-section. So it really just made me feel a lot more comfortable. And I honestly don't think how we could have been any more prepared other than for my silly body issues.
Yeah. Jon, what did you think of the class? Because husbands a lot of the times are like, I'll do it for her.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming from that perspective, I tried to be. I'm super ADD, and I'm self-employed too, so I'm always short on time. So I was going to do it, of course, but what I really appreciated was just how real you were, and you talk fast, which I like. You like, it's not like, so you're thinking about getting pregnant. Here's your first step. Da 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 da. Like it's it's not, you're not coming from a ground zero perspective. Entry level, and the information was amazing, and it was fast, and it was just.
And the humor.
It totally kept me engaged. Yeah. Oh, and the humor, of course. Yeah.
I appreciate the humor. It's
Yes.
like in the course you were talking about, like, I might not be your cup of tea, and I was like, man, you're perfectly my cup of tea. Like, that's my sense of humor completely. And that made me even more engaged. It took the scariness out of it, because labor is scary, especially if you are a chicken regarding pain. And so to have you instill that lightheartedness while you're also giving really good information just made it even better.
Yeah. I mean, I just think you either can laugh or cry about it, right? Because it is scary. I'm scared when I go in to have my babies, and I try and laugh through it. Although I will say that one of my babies, she was like, oh, I think the baby's coming. She's done laughing. Until then, I was like, let's make jokes. Yeah. All right. I'm glad that you guys love it. I will say that I think my class appeals to people that are planners. Because if you just want to go in and feel all the feelings, I don't know. Like, I just got back from a mom conference where I met a few other different childbirth educators and kind of their take on birth. It's a lot about natural childbirth for them instead of like knowing what's going to go on at the hospital. Because when you've done it as long as I have, as many states as I have, that this is pretty much what you're all going to experience. So,
your experience level just was it was so reassuring, and it's so much better than just reading through another form, and getting 30 different opinions and from people who may or may not know what they're talking about.
All right, Morgan and Jon, what did you guys learn about yourself in labor? Because I think sometimes people, I think it's an experience that prepares us in some ways for parenthood. What do you guys think?
Man, I learned so much. Well, I will say that I relearned that, like I said before, I am a chicken with pain, and that I will never, ever do natural childbirth. That is a choice for me. I got a little taste of contractions without epidural, and not for me. Nope. I will take the epidural every time.
That is A-okay. You know what is the worst for labor nurses? When someone comes in and goes, I have an extremely high pain tolerance. Because people, I swear, that say that out loud don't. That's what I learned.
Yeah, I honestly, when they told me that John was like had to leave the room, I was so panicked. I was like, or like, you said that like in your course a little
Oh,
bit,
for the
and then
epidural,
I
yeah.
confirmed it.
Hmm.
I confirmed it with them, and I was like, I don't like this. I'm not liking this. But thankfully,
Through all appointments, even just
yeah,
regular OB appointments, I'm usually there next to her holding her hand because it's just,
So
yeah.
yeah.
they made John leave for the epidural.
Yeah, and I mean, thankfully, it was really you just feel the shot to numb you, and it's a pinch. It's not bad at all. Even me coming saying I have no pain tolerance, it was not bad. The contractions were by far, worse. And then once you get that epidural flowing through, oh, it's a cakewalk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
leaving the room for the epidural seems on and off. Prior to COVID, I think most places allowed it, and then during
Oh.
COVID, I think they just got used to it, which I think is a little bit
Mm.
annoying.
It
I
was
guess there's
really,
some safety factors, which I roll
yeah.
my
They
eyes
said
at.
I know, like we got two answers for why a husband had to leave the room. The first one was like health, like like we don't want it contaminated because we're putting this in your spine. And okay, but if he's standing in front of me,
Right.
it's like. And then the second one was, well, we don't want husband fainting.
Yeah, that's why we make you sit in a chair.
Yeah,
Liability
like
insurance.
if he's in front of me,
Yeah.
like again, I don't like just let me hold his hand.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But
If people are listening, I would push. I would probably push back on that a little bit. But at the
yeah.
same point, you're like, just get in the epidural. I don't even care. I don't want to push because I just want it in my back.
Yeah.
Also, Morgan, I was going to say that if we gave you an epidural right now, you'd probably think it hurt more because you aren't contracting.
Yeah, comparatively. Yeah, probably. I mean, the nurses were great. They held my hand. They told me I was doing good. Really trying to help me through it. So it was a better experience than I had anticipated. With the pain because I do not like shots. I do not.
Yeah, John,
So
what did you do when they made you leave? Did you go get something to eat?
Just paste, which is what I do even during non-stressful situations. If I'm not on a video call like we're looking at right now, I'll pace in a 5-foot circle. So that's just what I did. Is went up to the waiting room and paced.
Just
I think I got a
tore up
coffee.
some carpet.
Yeah.
Yep, there's
Yeah,
plenty of
exactly,
pacing in that room.
exactly. We had an interesting hospital experience overall. It was like we ended up being there for 4 days, so it was like going to summer camp. We got to know every single nurse, went through
yeah,
multiple OBs. We were like we
it
really
was
got to know
not
everybody.
anything birth plan out the window. Like it was, that was the going back. Like that's another thing I learned is that I have a really hard to find cervix.
Oh.
Apparently, it's like what do you call it? The what it was like the Pharaoh's tomb. It's like all like you can't find it.
Whoa!
What?
Yeah,
It's
I
booby
know.
traps.
It's booby trapped.
Going into
It's
the
just
mummy.
yeah, it's just really hard to find, and so that was wonderful. And then also found out, unfortunately, that my insemination had created scar tissue on my cervix, and so no matter what they did, I would not dilate.
2
So
days. 2
2
days worth
days
of every kind of, yeah,
thing you
everything.
can give. Yeah, and I wouldn't dilate, and I actually didn't feel any contractions until my water broke. So that was definitely
It was
another kind of
amazing.
learning experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2
So
days.
weird.
2 days. I'm watching the contractions go up and down on the monitor and googling how to read this. I was like, okay, this is a little bit higher, and it's like pre-labor level and da da da. You sure you're not feeling anything? No, I'm not feeling anything.
That's so
As soon
crazy.
as their water broke, yeah, it was like,
It went
bam.
from 0 to 60.
But did you guys end up having a vaginal birth or a
No,
C-section?
C-section. It wouldn't dilate, and they tried all those different methods that you talked about in your course. They were going to try to go in there and prick the water. She was looking for any kind of opening after they both did the vaginal and oral dilation medication. Just nothing worked, and so finally, after 2 days, they said we're going to have to go in there and get him. He's starting to show signs of distress.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So people that are listening, sometimes your
Mhm.
cervix gets a scar thing, and you
Mhm.
would like if you melted the middle of a rubber band, that's kind of how I think about it. It just won't stretch.
Mhm.
That's kind of how I think of that section of cervix. And so sometimes we can like somehow break it and sometimes it just doesn't. And that can happen if you have like a cone biopsy, any cervical surgery, or apparently an IVF where they poked your cervix.
Oh, it was insemination, and it was this, this doctor that had kind of been doing this for probably 40 years, kind of set in his ways. And he went in there and I think he scraped something. And, like not to get TMI, but I was in pain and I actually bled for about a week and a half after. And
Weird.
that's what did it. Yeah.
I don't
So
know
that was
anything
our
about
last insemination.
insemination. I'm not the
Oish.
insemination nurse. Just kidding.
Oh.
It wasn't like it was the first time either. It was probably the third or fourth time that he had done it
Mhm.
and
And they were
hadn't had
all
an issue
uncomfortable.
before.
Well,
Yeah.
they were all uncomfortable, but that one was like
Nothing was that
lifting
bad.
me off the table. And afterwards, I told the nurse, I said, I'm in a lot of pain right now. And his response was, you just need to go to the bathroom. Like,
Okay.
so I was like, all right, John, let's go. And that's when I started my holistic journey. Not
Yeah.
to say that insemination doesn't work for some people, but apparently it's not supposed to be painful.
I have no idea, but that's interesting. Maybe
Mhm.
probably people at home might be saying, "Oh, that
Mhm.
happened to me too." So it's something to
Mm.
know if you've had previous things done in your cervix slash uterus area that it can be an
Mhm.
issue, but it's
Mhm.
pretty rare, all things
Yeah.
considered. You
Yeah.
lucky gal, Morgan.
I know, right? Just one right after the other.
Okay, guys, what is the worst part of having a baby at your house? Let's be honest, because you're postpartum for the rest of your life.
Worst part, I wouldn't say worse, I would say definitely difficult. The thing that comes to my mind is like the very simple things that you don't even generally think about, like, okay, I'm going to go and just do the dishes real quick. I'm going to go and do a load of laundry. I'm going to just go outside and water my plants or go to the bathroom. It's like now you have to think about, okay, when has he been fed? When has he been changed? Can I actually take him with me? If I take him with me, am I carrying him and I put him in a carrier? Like, it's all this planning that goes into it. And then the other thing that sticks out is, for me, I've been with Jon for so long. He's my best friend, but this is the first time in my kind of our life together where I have to think about what our relationship is like now. Like, it changed. Like there are times that I got really annoyed with him for certain things that I hadn't in the
Oh, this
past.
is news to me. This is all live. I've never heard of this.
John, you and Drew can talk off air.
The scars aren't physical, but they are definitely emotional.
It changes everything. And I think I
Hmm.
always just came home and thought it was like having a new purse. Like he would look so great when we went out places. I don't know.
Big
I was
accessory.
dumb. I was really dumb. But I agree. Everything. How am I going to get a
Hmm.
shower in? How am I
Hmm.
going to use the restroom? How am I
Yeah.
going to use the restroom while holding a baby in the restroom?
Yes. Yes. That was the first. Yes. I actually did have to go to the bathroom with him in my arms. That was
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, I have two. Especially being first time parents and especially for those first few weeks and first month, it's just it doesn't matter how much due diligence you do and research and courses and stuff you take, you're gonna screw some things up and not even realize
Yeah.
it until later. Like,
Mhm.
hey, here's how you should have been putting a diaper on correctly the last 2 weeks.
Oh, poor guy.
Basic stuff. I know, like basic stuff. Like, oh, that's why he's upset. That's why we have pee all over the place. Like, because
That's
you
why
don't know
we
how to
go
work a
through so
diaper.
many
Yeah,
onesies.
really. So many things.
Yeah.
So many simple things that like you just dial in, and then it's
Yeah.
just everything's turned on its head.
Or like the stupid thoughts. It's like, okay, I don't want to hold him in my arms because when I go to the bathroom, I'm going to need those hands, but I really don't want to put him on anything on the floor. The poor little guy. He's going to be eye level with the
Right.
toilet.
You get super super resourceful, super
Yeah.
resourceful. Being a photographer, I've got like a lot of grip and gear laying around. This morning I used one of my rigged
Oh my
a
gosh.
magic arm
Uh-huh.
like that holds a little camera, and rigged it so he could hold his bottle up while he's sitting in a chair, because
Hey,
I
you sent me a
was just
picture.
I just got off a phone call, a business call, and needed to write down a bunch of notes, but Morgan needed to hand them off. So just you get resourceful.
You do. Yeah. That doesn't end. You keep having to
Mhm.
get, because their needs change. You don't have to hold them in the
Mhm.
bathroom, but
Yep.
how do you make sure that the lock works? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. His little bathtub has come in so handy other than giving him baths. Like that's what we use when we need our shower, when we
Yeah.
need to just put him down. His little bathtub with a little comfort, like he's got a little squishy mat in it. It works.
Yeah.
I get why only 6 weeks in now. I really get why parents talk about the purchases and what they buy, like what works and what doesn't.
Mhm.
You can really geek out on the gear because it really makes a big difference. We've bought at least 2 or 3 versions of baby slings now too, just like
Mhm.
the indoor one, the outdoor one.
The working one.
That's that stuff all really makes a huge difference as
Mhm.
far as quality of life and usability.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the hard thing is it's different for everybody. Like I loved my changing
Mhm.
table because I had a 4th degree on my first baby and I could not get on the floor to change
Mm.
him. So then I loved
Mm.
my changing table. And then, then I just got used to it. But so many people hate the changing table. They think it's completely useless. So, my goodness, right. And don't even get me started on slings. I bought so many slings and I was like, I cannot use a wrap sling. I don't have enough skills.
Right? It's ridiculous. And then, like, here's the sad thing is so, like, this was another prep that we did. We had a night where we took both of our boba wraps. I think that's what they're called, boba wraps. And like, he and I were like, okay, we actually went and bought flour, like actual flour that you would do in high school to make it like you have a child. We bought
To
5 pound
simulate the
things
weight,
of,
yeah, and
yes. We geeked out on this part. And so he and I are doing these wraps. We're learning it and we're putting this flour in the front of us. And he actually did it way better than I did.
Well,
And I was just like, I can't do like we looked like Jedis. We looked cool, but could it hold a child
yeah,
safely?
really.
No, it could not hold a child safely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel you. I 100% feel you. Although then I look at these moms who are just like boom, boom, boom. It's like
Oh,
whipped up, and I'm like, bless your hearts. That's not my
right?
gift.
And they're doing it in public. They're doing it one-handed. They're throwing it around. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah,
Hmm.
kudos to them.
That's another lesson that we've learned for God willing, our second one is that just in general, be prepared. Obviously, don't make all your purchases the week of, but don't overbuy because some of the stuff just you're going to find out what you like and what you don't like, and
Yeah,
you don't want
definitely.
to be out of all that money.
Yeah.
Definitely have a list now. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I love secondhand because then if you don't love whatever wrap, like I only used my Bjorn for like 4 months or whatever, but I loved handing it off to a friend to borrow it for their 4 months so that it didn't feel so
Hmm.
wasteful. Okay,
Yep.
what's the best part of having a baby at your house? We'll end on the positive.
um, I would say the best part is just, it's those moments like he's just now smiling.
Oh,
So
I
you get to
love
see
baby
his,
smiles.
oh my gosh, you get to see
Ah,
his eyes light up when he smiles and he sounds like he's giggling. And, it's when you're sleeping and you pull him onto your chest and it's quiet in the house and it's just like you two laying there. It's your capacity for love. And it's just it's so content. Like it's more than you could ever, ever, ever imagine. And then of course seeing your partner with the child as well is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. John, what's your favorite part?
Mhm.
I think she nailed it. Morgan nailed it. We're pretty touchy feely types, big heart type people. So I thought we were already kind of halfway there with the level of like love that we could feel, the capacity for it. I have no clue. I have no clue until you actually like hold your child. Like watching him come out of his mama's tummy. It just like
Mm.
I have no words. Like I have no words. It's so amazing and
Yeah,
overwhelming and beautiful and crazy.
Yep. And here is talking now. His little cooing and
I
stuff
know.
like that. Oh my
He's
God.
making a gift for you in his diaper, I think.
He
You
does
love me
every
so
day.
much, you can change my
Yes.
pants.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
We unfortunately call that making biscuits. He's making us biscuits. That's what he's
Whipping up a
doing.
fresh batch.
Sorry to those who love biscuits. I like biscuits. I do. And I
I
apologize for
like his
making it
biscuits better than actual biscuits.
yeah.
Well, you guys, I'm so glad that your spearmint tea made a happy ending for you.
Yes.
That seems very worth the box of herbal tea or several boxes you purchased.
Yes, I definitely left a review on Amazon, and it got 127 likes. So I'm hoping somebody out there has also found some happiness from it.
Yeah.
It's so cool when something just so basic and holistic can be a total stopgap. And I mean, all medical science was swinging and missing for years. And you really have to be your advocate. I think, Hilary, you mentioned that a few times.
Yes.
Just how much
Big
you talk
time.
about like informed consent too, just like really be an advocate for yourself and learn as much as possible.
Yeah. And the annoying thing is you almost have to learn it that day, right? Because I don't think I went into the course about cervical scar tissue because I don't want to freak people out. They want to come by and see they're that's going to be me. So
or what a C-section actually is. I'm really glad we found that out. The details of it out after the fact.
After.
Well, I mean, it can't be just a horror show.
Right. I totally agree. Totally agree. No.
Yes. And I will say, like, when they told me, like, okay, get ready for your C-section, I was ready. Like, I didn't feel any fear. You had really, like I said, instilled that confidence. I was just ready to have him out into the world. And so I felt no fear. I think Jon, if anything, was the one that was a little nervous because he has to wait there for 45 minutes while they prep me.
Oh yeah. Just sitting there in the room in the silence, just waiting there for it was like 30 minutes, with the our new OB who we had never met. Shift had just changed. So like our doctor who we've been working with for 9 months walks out the door, new guy shows up, and 30 minutes later he's like, okay, baby showing distress, we're going in. I'm like, oh crap, what the hell is that? Okay, what does that even mean? We don't have time to figure it out. We're going in. But you have to stay here and sit in this room for a while. So
I mean, two things. Good news is that doctor at least was fresh.
Yes.
Because the doctor at the end of a 24-hour, you're like, you got this? Like, everything good? We're not gonna go with our bladder, right?
Oh, he was chipper.
Jon, I have to tell you that as a nurse, one of my favorite things to do was to go in and get the dad, because as soon as they would see me, they'd be like, oh, it's time. I'm finally gonna go. Thank goodness.
Oh my God.
Nobody's ever that happy to see me in my real life. Like, no teenager's eyes light up when I walk into a room
seriously.
at my house.
It's better than Publishers Clearinghouse showing up at the door.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I think a lot of people are going to hear this and they're going to be saying, me too. Oh, that makes sense. Yes. So I think every time we hear somebody else's vulnerable story like this, it just helps people feel less alone and more excited for what the future can hold for them. So thank you for coming on. I sure do appreciate it.
Of course. Definitely hope so.
Thank you so much.
Just keep loving that little guy.
Yes, definitely will. Thank you so much for the course that you put together. I mean, seriously,
it was the highlight out of all of our out of all of our research and courses and everything. Yours was the highlight.
All right, thanks so much, you guys. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Hilary.
Thanks, Hilary. Take care.
Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Super interesting about the infertility. If any of you guys are out there wondering about it, feel free to comment on Instagram. Maybe we can get a conversation started over there. If anything, I just think it was so great how prepared she got and how they kept hope. And I think preparing can only help you out, and it sure seemed to help them out. So thank you so much for coming on, Morgan and Jon. And of course, come join us in the online prenatal class for couples where we prepare you from bump to bassinet in just a few hours. Thanks for joining us on the Pulling Curls podcast today. If you liked today's episode, please consider reviewing, sharing, subscribing. It really helps our podcast grow. Thank you.